Hello everyone, my name is Colin and you are watching ClassyHerps. Alright, so to start off this video, first real quick I'm going to introduce this new guy who's sitting on my shoulder. This is Blaze, the bearded dragon. He's a leatherback bearded dragon. As you can see, he's really orange, really awesome pattern. It's kind of an awkward angle, but just an introduction. Alright, now I wanted to start this video off with Blaze because Blaze is a lizard, and so are these two. These are leopard geckos, both lizards also, and so is my chameleon over here, Nick. They're all lizards. They all have that in common. Now, obviously, Nick, my chameleon here, is very different from my leopard geckos or my bearded dragon, but there is something that almost all lizards share in common, and that is that they eat insects. They're insectivores, and this is an essential part of their diet that you can't get around. And insects are kind of hard to deal with sometimes. Most first-time reptile owners aren't real thrilled with bringing home a bunch of insects into their house to feed their first lizard, and I can almost guarantee you that if you go to a pet store, they're going to send you home with a box of crickets. And believe me, I've been there, we've all been there, we have all had to deal with crickets before, and we all know that they're noisy, they eat a lot, they poop a lot, and they smell really bad. And if they get out in your house, it's not a good situation. And I didn't like it, and so about 2 years ago, I was introduced to this new little insect. This right here is a Dubia roach, and they are the answer to all of your reptile prayers when it comes to feeding your lizards. Now, I made a more detailed video in the past that got pretty popular about these little guys. It goes into a lot more detail about why you should actually use Dubia roaches, so I'm not going to really go into that today. But what I really think I need to show you guys and explain is what to do when you order one of those breeder packages. After you've made the choice to switch to Dubias and you want to breed your own, what do you do when you get that box in the mail? So that's what I'm going to walk you through today. Okay, so for those who might not know, I'm going to show you from the very beginning on how you can get some Dubia roaches from me, ClassyHerps. Alright, so what I have here is my website pulled up on my computer. My website is www.classyherps.com, right there. And what I did was, I went from the home and I clicked on available for sale up there in the option. So when you're here, I have a few different things. Not much right now. Normally I have baby snakes for sale, but they're not really in season right now. But the Dubia roaches are available year-round, and believe me, I have a lot of them. So I've got a few different options. This is by far is the most popular right here, the breeder package, and you can buy adult males, and I have kind of an economy package. But I'm just gonna click on this one because this is what most people get. And this consists of 30 adult females and 10 males, which is exactly what you want, a 3-to-1 ratio. So what you're going to do is click Add to Cart, if you just want one, which most people would, and then it's going to come up in your cart. Oh, I accidentally hit it twice. And then you just press Checkout. And it's going to load, and you're just going to go through the normal checkout process. Okay, so I typically almost always ship on Mondays, and in the past I've done 2-day shipping because they really don't need overnight shipping. Like, reptiles are required, and they do need overnight shipping because they're so much more sensitive reptiles. They can die if they're in a box for too long. But roaches, I found out, they are very, very hardy little animals, and 2-day shipping honestly isn't even necessary, because I've had a few customers who, for whatever reason, were not able to pick up their packages of roaches, and the FedEx company, who I shipped through FedEx, and they had them for over a week. And then when in unheated conditions, this was just sitting in a FedEx warehouse for a week, and I thought for sure they were dead. But come to find out, the person signed for the roaches about a week later, and they were alive, all of them, amazingly. So I ship 3-day, and honestly, that I chose to do that because it saves me and you. Really, it saves you more money because I didn't change the deal of my package. It's still the same, but you're paying less for shipping, about $10 less actually for the 3-day than the 2-day. You see this guy behind me? I just had to show him off. I saw him moving in the background. He is amazing. Okay, so if you want to be a successful roach breeder and be able to produce your own food and maybe even make a little profit off of these guys, then you need to be prepared. And what I mean by that is having everything set up before you get your box coming in. So what you're looking at here is pretty much everything you need to have a successful roach colony. So what I would always recommend is just a nice plastic tub. Honestly, this isn't a good example because it's got kind of clear sides. You need to find one that has solid sides. Like those are my roach tubs over there. You can see those are they're big ones, but they have solid sides. This is just the only tub I had around. And one really important thing about your tub selection is make sure, like, I don't know how to get this across on the camera, make sure it's smooth and it's like slick. If it's like textured and you can like, you can feel it, the plastic, if it's kind of rough, their little feet can get into that and they can climb it. But if it's smooth like this, you will have no problem with escape because they can't climb it, so it won't matter. And so what you need to do is start off, get your box in its spot where it's going to be, and you need a heat mat. And Zoo Med, Exoterra, whatever, it doesn't matter. Get your heat mat and just put it underneath like so, or maybe right in the middle or something like that. And then plug it in. No need for a thermostat or anything. The heat will just regulate itself. They don't get too hot. They're made for this. And what else you need? You need some egg carton. This is just a big square of it. You can find it on the internet like super cheap. They're really, really cheap. And what you need to do is don't stack it like this. Whatever you do, don't stack it like that, because what'll happen is when they poop, it'll build up in these little things right here, and actually the babies eat the feces of the adults while they're really little. And when they start eating the feces that's all caught up in there, then they'll actually start eating holes right through your cardboard, and it won't last very long. So what you need to do is find a way to get it to stand up vertically. And I always just like to mess around with mine for a little while, maybe like this. Yeah, that looks good. See how those are kind of leaned up against each other, and that's just making the most out of your surface, or making the most surface area possible in your tub, because they like to be able to crawl around and get into tight little places and yeah, just go all over. So that's how you're going to want to stack those up, and really, I mean, this will last you. If you take proper care of it, they'll last you forever. And then the only other thing you really need is some food and some water for them. And naturally in the wild, they're going to eat vegetable matter, and they're going to get all their water, their hydration, straight from the vegetable matter that they eat. And if you want to feed them all vegetables, then go ahead. They love fruit and vegetables. I give mine as a treat a few times a month. I'll cut them up some apple or a grapefruit or orange or just whatever, tomatoes. They just love it. They'll like devour multiple apples like within an hour. It's really fun to kind of watch. They kind of just go into a frenzy when I give it to them. But that's where they would normally get their water. Normally, like a really base good diet is going to be a dry diet, and that's not going to get moldy, and it's just gonna be good. I make my own, and this is something that can really just only come from experience. You'll figure out what is good for your roaches and what isn't, and what they like and what they don't like. Mine is a mixture of these little brown things. This is chicken feed. It's just really little. They can't really eat big things just because their mouths are obviously so tiny. So they like the little chicken feed, and I mixed it in with some other just local. I live in a really rural area, and so livestock feed is really abundant and really cheap, and so I mix in like soybean meal and stuff like that. It's really high in protein, so it's really good for your reptiles. They're going to be really, really chunky little roaches that are going to be just super gut loaded. And also in this, I found out that they really like little nuts. They really like nuts for some reason. And yeah, you can see there's some little corn chunks in there. And I just like to mix in random stuff that I can find at the pet store. Like fish food's really good for them. I mix a lot of fish food in. some turtle food. I think that's like a dried shrimp or something. And also another really big thing is I mix a ton of calcium powder, just the straight powder, into their food. I don't ever dust any of my feeders, just because I know that they're already full of calcium on the inside because I put it in their food. So that's a really easy way to get around calcium issues. Feed it to your feeders. And then, like I was saying, they're not going to get any water from this because it's a dry food. So what you need are water crystals, these right here. There's a few places where you can get water crystals, but I've always just kind of gone with Home Depot. You have to go into the gardening section, and it's for like soil, but this is what the package looks like for people who want to go and get it. And basically all it looks like is kind of just like almost like white sand. Like really crystally, and it's just dehydrated water crystals. And then when you dump, you'll figure out how much to use. And I make up by gallon batches, and I put a bunch of this stuff in the bottom, fill it up with water, and about a few hours later they've all expanded and absorbed. And yeah, you can see that that'll last me maybe 2 weeks. They go through it pretty fast, but I do have an enormous amount of roaches. And then you just fill it up into a little bowl like this. And I like these bowls because the sides are kind of textured, and like I said earlier, their little feet can climb it, and so that's not an issue. And you can also use the little tubs that I send them to you in, but they're slick-sided and so they can't climb it. But if you simply take some sandpaper, as you can see I did, you just sand the sides down and put little grooves in it like that with some like really heavy-duty sandpaper, so it's grippable, and then they can climb in and out with no problem. And then pretty much all you need to do is set them inside. And actually what I kind of like to do is I like to have my heat pad on kind of one side, like over there, and kind of have a warm side. And then I'll put my food and my water on the opposite side, especially the water. I wouldn't, if you put your water over your heat mat, the water is all going to evaporate and they're going to go back into those little crystals, and that's no good. So I like to keep that off the heat. And I had someone ask me one time why the water crystals started looking like they had blood in them, like they started turning reddish. And it's not blood, it's just the roaches poop in it, and it just kind of absorbs and it kind of becomes a mess. So if you don't have a lot of roaches and they don't go through it real fast and they do start pooping in it and it gets kind of nasty, it can get moldy, so you might just dump it out and put it in a fresh bowl. That definitely can't hurt. And then I just put it like that, and this is a ready-to-go roach colony tub. So if I ship on Monday, the package will typically get there on Wednesday, and I'll send you a tracking number so you can watch. And I do require that there's a signature at pickup, so someone needs to be at your house or wherever it's shipped to, because I don't want the box to sit outside in whatever weather, winter or summer, and they'll die inside if it's exposed to extreme temperatures. So please be home, because if you're not there to sign, they'll take it back to the nearest FedEx location and you have to go pick it up. And I'm not responsible after that. That's on you. So please be aware. That's why I'm making this video, kind of. But anyway, then on Wednesday you're gonna get a box just like this that's gonna show up. Got that on all sides, and obviously it'll be taped up and it'll have the shipping label on there, but this is just a demonstration. So you would cut open the tape and take out, it's insulated with styrofoam on top and bottom and on the sides. And in the wintertime I will tape a heat pack to the side. In the summertime, if it's really hot, I might use a cool pack. I didn't put one in there just because it's a demo. And then I pack all around the edges with paper towel. And in a real one, I forgot to on this one, but I'll drill 2 holes on every side for air holes. And I've had 100% shipping rate with these guys, so it's awesome. And you'll get your roaches just like this in 2 separate little plastic tubs like this, and in here they're all mixed up, and you can see this is why I don't like them being in here very long. It's obviously not a comfortable situation for them, but there are 30 females and 10 males in both of these. So then when your roaches arrive, there's really only one thing left to do. It's kind of hard one-handed. Just take your lid off and then dump your roaches in. You see, they're kind of wild little things, and they will just go everywhere. But yeah, there you go. And that is a colony. This is the colony, guys, that I started with 2 years ago. Not even 2 years ago. I bought exactly this amount at a reptile show from a local vendor. It was the first time I've ever seen the bugs in my life. And I feel like I kind of need to give you guys an anatomy lesson now. These ones are females. The ones that are shiny and black or brown and just have these little wing nubs. They don't really even have wings. They're just little underdeveloped nub things. And obviously then the males are the winged ones that look very different from the females. They're a little bit harder to catch. They jump everywhere and they're really fast. They do have wings, but they don't fly. Like, you could throw them and they'll just flutter their wings, but they can't fly. So don't worry about that. But like I was saying, I started with that many roaches, and over the time, it's really kind of a slow process, so don't get impatient, because the girls will start having babies immediately. Once they're pregnant, once they breed once, they're pregnant for life. And they'll put out, every month, they're going to have a big old clutch of babies. You know, they get an enormous amount. Believe me, a lot of them don't survive, but it's a really slow process, because you'll notice when they're born, they're so tiny. Just so tiny, and it takes a long time for them to get up to the point where they actually look like you could actually feed them off, which takes a few months. But then they'll keep having babies though, and so once you kind of get to the point where you have your own feeders, they'll just keep coming. And if you resist yourself from feeding off all of your babies and you let them grow up into adults like I did, you just kind of keep accumulating more and more, and eventually you have so many that you have to make a whole business out of it and have 2 massive tubs to hold them all. Remember, these are all from the original 30 roaches, or 40 roaches I bought. They're all related, all descendants. You can see what I mean by the holes in there. That's just stuff that's gonna happen when you have this many. You can see there are just thousands upon thousands of roaches. Like, it's hard to even like comprehend like how many are actually here, just because they blend in together each other so well. But I mean, sometimes you can't even see the bowls down at the bottom. I have 3 water bowls and 3 food bowls in mine, 1 on each end and 1 in the middle. They will completely bury them. But you see how many males and females I have. They just keep reproducing. And it kind of is one of those things, it's just like it just really kind of gets away from you once you get to the point where you have so many that it's like you don't, it's just doesn't even matter anymore feeding them off, and you just have so many. It's really cool, and that only took me 2 years. So, and I've been steadily feeding off and selling, and they keep growing in number. And there's nothing really to stop them. But you see, that's a nymph right there. You see it's slightly brown. They're mixed in. This is just kind of where I take all the babies out. I take all my babies out. This is my breeder tub down here. It's just as full with almost just adults though, and that's where like all of the little babies are. And then when I take, about every few months, I'll take out all of the nymphs, the little babies, and put them into here, and this is where they grow up. So this is just really like the excess, this tub, which I sell off of. So once you get to this point, all there's left to do is I put a lid on mine, so because they like dark, quiet places, and I put them in a kind of the corner of my room, and most of the time obviously it's dark, and there's that lid on the top, and so it's dark and quiet, and they do well. They do awesome. I feel like I should also add that even when you get this many and there's that much poop in the bottom, like there's probably 3 inches in the bottom, because that's just, I just let that be because the babies have to eat that, and it doesn't really get too bad. But honestly, it does not smell. They don't have any smell like crickets do, and they don't make any noise, and they don't get out. And if actually they do get out, but when they get out, they die within like 3 days because they get cold. They have to stay warm. So that's really they're just like the perfect bug for keeping for reptiles. So I would please go to my website and order yourself some. Again, if you would like to order some Dubia Roaches, please go to my website, www.classyherps.com, and order yourself some today. I would really appreciate it, and it would help fund what I have going on here, and I hope that I could also save you some money, because remember, I haven't bought crickets for 2 years. So, yeah, hopefully you guys have a good day, hopefully you enjoyed my video, and I will talk to you again. You've been watching Classy Herps.